Welcome to the Business Insider Podcast, where we interview the top business leaders in their respective industries. Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode. Today, I am excited to introduce a special VIP guest. We've got April here. She is the CEO of a company called Vixen Gathering. April, thank you so much for coming on the pod today.
Riley, I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. Very excited to have you here as well. Glad you can make it. So as you know, I've got a bunch of questions lined up for you. And I'm sure our audience is wondering, specifically what you guys do and really what the major outcomes are for your clients that work with you. So before the podcast, you had kind of given me a brief summary of what that looks like. If you wouldn't mind reiterating that to the audience, April, that'd be amazing.
Yeah, so the coaching and mentoring I do really lies at the intersection of sacred strategy and soul-led success for high-achieving women. So what I really love to do is, these women are already successful. Sometimes they're in a transition, like leaving corporate to start their own business or starting a new job, or maybe they just got divorced. Like there's a lot, or empty nesting. There's a lot of transitioning going on with women. And in 2020, I really understood that amazing, awesome women were kind of struggling with all the changes. And I'm gifted where I thrive on change. So I just thought, okay, how can I help be a guide through these times? And as we all know, things have not stopped changing since 2020, right? We a crazy upward trajectory. So that's when I got the idea. Actually, I had a couple of visions of the Vixen Gathering. So I really help women get back into a rhythm that feels good to them, increase their revenue, and so they can scale sustainably without burning out, which is incredibly important because I don't know, Riley, how many times you have this conversation, but the women I talk to are in their 30s, 40s, and 50s, and they're freaking tired, right? They're badasses and you wouldn't know, but what you're seeing is not what they're feeling underneath. And that's really my mission, to help them thrive in life, thrive in business. And as we all know, when women become better, everyone around them becomes better
Very
as
true.
well.
Definitely. So if you had to define your superpower or the unique skill or insight that really sets you apart in your space, what would it be and how has it shaped your success?
So I love this. What I am really good at is helping women restore their radiance. And I use the term restore for a reason, right? Usually you're just rediscovering yourself because as you get older, as you get more responsibility, more roles, often we kind of lose that light inside of us. And so I'm really all about turning that light back on. In fact, you and I were chatting. I do Rich in Energy. It's just 2 1-hour sessions. And by the end of the second, all of the women are glowing. They're full of energy. Their magnetism is back, their radiance. And I mean, I'll be like, look at each other's faces. You can see it. It's just really so beautiful.
Yeah, that's super important. I mean, there's really no point in living this life if you're not happy, right? I think a lot of people kind of forget that, if you're not happy, what is the point, right? You should be doing things that you enjoy. So I think it's super important that for anyone out there in the audience that isn't happy, figure out how to be happy, work on it, right? So it doesn't come easily, right? As you just mentioned, it's something that people lose over time and you work with your clients to help them find that again. And that's just so important.
Yeah, I love it.
So what kind of inspired you to pursue this current path, April? I mean, how'd you get here?
So I had 3 visions. The first one started in 2017 when I was in, if you know Dan Sullivan, the OG of coaches for entrepreneurs, right? I was in his mastermind and he had us do this exercise. Actually, I'm sorry, it started in 2017. I was at an Andrea Bocelli concert in Madison Square Garden with my mom and niece, and we were on the 5th row. And at some point in the middle of all this beautiful, amazing music, I turned around and looked. And I just thought, wow, how amazing to impact and bring joy and beauty to this many people. How blessed is everyone on the stage that they can do this, right? And so that was the first vision. And then I was in Dan Sullivan's mastermind 2 years later, and he does this life extender exercise where we all kind of have a number in our head when we think we're going to die, but until someone asks you, you don't realize. And we have different reasons. And he was like, what if, how do you feel? And of course, entrepreneurs were full of energy, full of ideas. And so we think the year before we die, we're just going to be amazing, right? And so he's like, well, how much longer do you think you'd live? So anyway, it ended up adding like, well, I thought I'd pass away at 96 and I extended it to like 124, which is crazy. And then it was like, what are you going to do with these extra 30 years of your life, right? Or 28 years. And Madison Square Garden came up again. And I was like, have like this festival at Madison Square Garden. Like, and then 2020, it was April of 2020. I was reading this book, Coot Blackstone, and it was You Are the One. And the first chapter talks about how no one's coming to save you. Like your life is really up to you. And he talked about his dream was to leave Africa and the UK where he grew up and come to the US and speak at Madison Square Garden. And at that moment, I just looked up and I go, really, God, right now? This is April 2020. I'm CEO of a financial company with hundreds of clients, a team, right? And I'm like, really? You want me to start this now? But, you know,
Right.
if you don't listen to the whispers, you have what I call this 2x4 to the forehead moment. And I'm old enough that I've had enough of those that I didn't want that 2x4 to the forehead. So basically, I was like, okay, let me figure out what this looks like. There are no stages, there are no speaking gigs. We're in the middle of a pandemic. So I became a master of my energy and my time. I doubled the revenue of my financial company in 8 months to give security to my team and started this new business. And, you know, I really tapped into how to like maintain my sanity doing all that and keep my joy. And so that's really what I help women do today.
That is amazing. That's such a great story. So, through your
Thank you.
journey, how powerful has networking been to your success, and what would you recommend to other entrepreneurs to up their game?
So networking is what started really, that's how the Vixen Gathering was born. Because like I said, the vision was like, it's not me on the stage, it's from the stage and the impact being made in the audience, right? Like the collective impact of collaboration amongst all the women. And really, you know, I'd been a financial advisor. I was in the top 1% of the country. I worked for one of the top law firms in the country as a business litigator before that. So I had been traditionally surrounded by all men. I mean, the financial industry is only 30% female, and the legal is probably about the same, right? And so I never imagined I would only work with women. But in 2020, I just was like, you know what? The 2x4 is coming. I better start asking. And that was most high performers, especially high performing women, asking for help is a challenge, right? So I just started reaching out to mentors of mine and people I know. And I'm like, hey, I have this dream. Like, who do you know that could help me? And I just kept getting on Zooms with other amazing female entrepreneurs by chance. And I was like, wow, these women are awesome. Like, this is who I want to work with. Um, so yeah, my tip on networking to up level your game, and I share with all my clients, go into every event with an intention. In fact, when I run a mastermind, when I run the first quarter, I'm like, what's our intention for this period, right? What do we want to get out of it? So go into networking with intention and have 1 to 3 asks. Because if someone's like, how can I help you? And you like fumble around, I mean, one, it doesn't look really good on your part. And two, you're wasting precious time and energy, right? And most people want to help each other and most people want to collaborate. So if you have that ask ready, and then of course you ask what they would like, and my tip is always to give value first, right? I'm usually the first out the gate saying, hey, how can I help you? Like, what are your goals now? What are your biggest obstacles? And like, what's a big ask you have? And I have a pretty extensive network, so I can usually connect them with someone that can help with their ask. And then, of course, reciprocally, I can't speak today, I'm on vacation,
No
they
worries.
ask me back, you know, how can I help you? And it's really just, and cut the small talk. Go in sharing like what your goals are, what your biggest struggle is, like just kind of be organized with this, right? Because that's really how we bond, not talking about the weather or what we're doing this weekend. Really talk about what's in your heart and what keeps you up at night.
Definitely. Yeah. And nurturing those personal relationships I found for myself
Yes.
has been super impactful for me. I know I wouldn't be nearly as far as I am today if it weren't for the mentors I've met and the hands I've shook. And I feel like a lot of young entrepreneurs are really underutilizing networking these days. What's kind of your take on that?
Yeah, and it's so easy today. I mean, you can hop on a 20-minute Zoom. Like I call them rich riffs because I'm like, we're just going to talk about whatever. Like this is not a sales call. This is just, we're just riffing about what's going on, right? And usually, if you're zeroed in on what you do and how you help people, you can quickly say, hey, look, I have this that I can help you if you'd like, or I know this person. But I think really master those 15 to 20-minute calls where you're not just, excuse my language, BSing the whole time or going in unprepared. Like have a formula for going into that call. Like, what are you going to ask them? What do you want to talk about? Again, that's a skill set that came up in COVID because I built my business through doing TV and dinner seminars as a financial planner. Well, the TV studios were shut down and, there were no restaurants open. So we would send out gift certificates to the grocery store if you got on a 15-minute call with me. So I had 15 minutes to get this totally cold person to like know, like, and trust me. And I failed miserably for the first month. I'll be honest. But then I learned, and it's just asking open-ended questions. And the first thing they talk about is the most important thing to them. And basically, I would have people just talking to me for 30 minutes. I wouldn't say much.
That's the way to do it, right?
Yes.
So, kind of switching gears here a little bit, let's talk about AI. So, obviously, this is a pretty big topic these days. It's impacting every industry out there. How is AI impacting your industry specifically, and are you utilizing it?
Yeah, that's a great question. So interesting because I shared with you I'm also a spiritual healer for God. So AI, when it first came out, I was a little skeptical about it because I believe in leading from the heart. And there are plenty of arguments for AI, but one thing that is absolute certain is there is no heart in AI. They might argue that it can form consciousness, all this, but there's no heart, right? Which is the sacred part of us as human beings. And so don't let it, in my opinion, if you don't let it replace your heart-led endeavors, I think it's a very valuable tool. Like make sure you're still tapping in, talking heart to heart with people, connecting with people. Because I use AI a lot for my messaging now, but I'm riffing what I want to say. I've trained it with my voice, I've trained it with my ideal client, and then I just have it organize my thoughts because, as you can tell, I'm very verbose. So I'll be like, hey, can you cut this to 60 seconds? And then I just rewrite it to what sounds good to me. So I love using it as an organizational tool and to outline sales funnels. I mean, you upload a sales page, it does a phenomenal criticism of a sales page.
Yeah, definitely. I think it really just depends on the use case and what tools you're using, right? Because there's so many out there. It's really about
Yeah.
figuring out like which ones are actually going to move the needle for your business. As you mentioned, like idea creation, building funnels, data and analytics, it's amazing as
Yes.
long as you're not replacing that personal touch in your business, right? Because at the end of the day, I mean, look, I don't know what the next couple of years are going to look like. That this may change. Hopefully not. But people are only going to buy from another person, right? If it's especially if
Yes.
it's high ticket.
Yeah.
So having that personal touch is super, super important. But yeah, using it for those simple things, it just saves so much time and money.
It's crazy how fast you can build things. So, no, I think in 5 years, by 2030, the world as we know it will be like completely different.
It's kind of,
Because,
I think that's kind of the part that's scary to me. Like the
yeah,
fact that like the governments really haven't come together and like set regulations for this
yes,
because, um, we don't know where this is going to go. Like you see all these leaders talking on social media about how dangerous it is, but you notice how they're still investing into it, billions of
yeah,
dollars into it. So it's like, okay, if you're aware of how dangerous it is, but you're spending billions of dollars on it, like I feel like other leaders should be like noticing these things, which they are. They're just, in closed rooms behind doors talking about it. We just don't know about it. But yeah, there definitely needs to be some public motion coming here
yes.
very soon.
No, I'm with you, and I really think people need to pay attention to it. I think they're distracted by everything else going on in the world right now, and I think this is one of the leading, well, and traditionally I grew up Catholic. I don't fully practice Catholicism, but I do go to Catholic church. I'm just very spiritual and I like my relationship with God. And one thing I like about the new pope is he talked about in this time of distraction how we need to become spiritual again and like more internal and get quiet and listen. And I think
For sure.
the biggest potential problem to humanity is all the noise. Like, no wonder people aren't happy anymore. Like, you literally never have quiet, just self time, like self reflection, reflecting on others or relationships. And so I think we have to develop that skill set again as human beings to make it through this.
Definitely. And I don't want to go down this rabbit hole, but like that also kind of brings up the pieces about your health too, like your nervous system. Like what's the
Yes.
impact of all of this noise, all of this anxiety, all of this stress, all these different topics on your nervous system. So there's a lot of underlying health issues that like people don't really fully understand
Yes.
yet that's kind of tied into the world at its current state. But we won't dig into that. It's gonna be, a long, a long
Well, I
conversation.
love that. And, that's part of the work I do because I have a client in one of my coaching containers, and she was talking about she doesn't go to sleep till 1 or 2 in the morning and she's 50. I'm like, what? You understand that from 11 to 1 is when your brain washes out all the toxins during your sleep. So, like, you're missing that and you're on technology all day. So, we have to start understanding how we can repair our body from what we're doing to it. So
Definitely.
I totally agree. That's a huge part of the work I do. And that's why I want the women I work with to get in a rhythm that honors their biorhythm, their energetic blueprint, because then you do have a regulated nervous system. Because let's be honest, we're all assholes when we're tired. Excuse my
Yeah,
language.
for
Like
sure.
everyone.
For sure. So, in your experience, what do you feel like is the biggest problem in your industry from your client's lens, and what are you really doing to solve that for them?
I think it's a focus on over performance and also there's a lot of talk about revenue and people don't share what their actual profit is, right? Like I've known people that did 100 million of revenue and they had 1 million of profit, which if you're in high growth phase, there could be a reason for that. But I think, don't get caught up in comparing yourself to other people, especially in the world of social media where you're getting the highlight reel. And so that's why I like to say, let's go from overperforming to overflow, which is what I focus on. Like, let's have an overflow of energy. And especially like we talked about, I've been talking to a lot of my female clients, like, hey, you need to be your own source of energy. Let's get you an overflow. And then you overflow onto your husband, your children, your team, the people around you, and then they fill up and they overflow onto you. So I really think humanity it's important to learn to connect again because you asked about AI and some coaches have AI bots for coaching and like yeah, it could help with certain simple problems, but I mean what I really do is like I'm there one to one with you, understanding what's going on with you, your energetic rhythm, your biorhythm, like your hopes, your dreams, etc. And I just don't know, I don't see a world where AI can really tap into all of that.
I mean, and if it can, we have a serious problem. Like that's like kind of
Yes,
what ties back
agreed.
to like the government setting regulations. Like if AI can become emotionally intelligent, like then we have that's
Hmm.
actually like like very dangerous. Like
Yeah.
that's where like you don't really know where it's headed. Like if it can like be emotional too, because I mean, if it has emotional intelligence, it has to feel, and if AI can feel, then you know that's scary, very very
Yeah.
scary. So, April, if you wanted the viewers to take away one thing from this interview, or you can impart with one final thought or idea, what would that be?
Really to like focus, your goal should be, sustainable, sacred scalability. Again, this is like, I mean, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're not growing, you're dying. Let's be honest. Like, or a high performer, like we want to grow, but don't grow to your own detriment or to sacrifice yourself. Like, I really like, as I shared in like my rich and energy sessions. And a lot of times in my coaching, even with my one-to-one clients, I have a client running a company, worth 500 million in assets. And I'm like, okay, time to tap into your heart. Let's see what's going on. Like, what do you really want? Right. And if we filter our goals through that, they become so much more powerful, because a big misconception is that feminine energy is soft, when really feminine energy can be your edge. So you set your goals, you set your targets, and that clarity allows you to go into flow. So I just want to say, do pay attention to set your targets, set your goals, and then just trust. You do the game plan, but you got to trust yourself that you're going to bob and weave through it. Like, don't get anxious.
Definitely. Very valuable insight there, April. And for anyone out there in the audience that wants to connect, collaborate, or even work with you, I know you mentioned you've got a special offer for them and you want to talk about it. You want to kind of explain that, how that works to them?
Yeah, I love that. So they can find me on most social media at Vixen Gathering, Vixen Gathering. And that's our website too, vixengathering.com. But every month I do these 2 sessions, Rich in Energy, the realignment series. And so the first one's kind of a meditation connecting us back to our heart to filter out what we really want. And then the second one is a blueprint of what's working, what's not working. And so I love that. We have amazing women joining every month. It's normally $22, very affordable, just because I want to help as many women as possible. So for your audience, if they use the code VIXEN, VIXEN, they can come join complimentary.
Perfect. That's amazing. Thank you, April.
Yes, my pleasure.
So, guys, I'm going to link all of April's stuff in the description. Go check that out. Also, go check out all of her other links. She's doing amazing work for her clients. And April, thank you so much for coming on the pod today. Had a blast having you on and learning more about yourself and what you're up to.
Thanks for having me, Riley. Hope you have a great day.
Absolutely. Thank you. My pleasure.